In the next few weeks, silver prices could soar past $75 an ounce. But here's the twist. This isn't just another typical market rally. What's unfolding right now is something far more strategic, and it's going to impact your daily life, even if you don't care about silver. What China just did? It might be the start of a massive global shift, one that's happening right under our noses. But here's the thing, is most people don't realize what this could mean for them. Stick with me, and I'll show you why this matters before January 1st. You won't want to miss what's coming next. So what's happening right now might sound like just another commodity story, but trust me, this is far bigger. Silver prices as of December 11th, 2025 have reportedly jumped by 113% in a single year. That's $63 per ounce, a level we haven't seen in modern trading history. But here's the thing. This isn't simply a result of market forces. No, this is China strategically pulling the strings behind the scenes. And what happened in late October? That could be the key to everything unfolding now. Think about it. China, the largest player in global silver refining, has just rolled out drastic new export control measures, and they take effect in just weeks. The real question, why would China do this? Is it really about silver, or is there something much bigger at play here? You have to ask yourself, what does this mean for the industries relying on silver? And more importantly, what does it mean for you? Now, here's where things get really interesting. On October 30th, 2025, China's Ministry of Commerce announced a game-changing move: new export controls on silver. Starting January 1st, silver exports from China will require government approval. That means export quotas, licensing, and national security reviews. But don't take that at face value. This isn't just red tape. It's China positioning itself with unprecedented leverage over global silver distribution. Within weeks, the markets felt the shockwave. Shanghai silver inventories reportedly dropped by 40%. And get this, physical silver premiums in China are now double the global spot price. People are paying anywhere from $108 to $128 per ounce for the actual metal. Why? Because China is bracing for a major supply crunch. Western mints, they're sold out. Meanwhile, major institutional players are scrambling for physical delivery, placing orders totaling more than 350 million ounces. That's more than the entire annual global surplus. Notice what's missing here? The response from the West has been shockingly quiet. Is anyone ready to face what's coming? This is not just a bump in the road. This is a red flag. As the situation intensifies, this isn't just about silver anymore. It's about a global power shift. The U.S. is facing a crisis, and it's unfolding in real time. If you think back to similar moments in history, this is eerily familiar. Take the 1970s oil crisis, for example. OPEC realized their leverage over the world's economy and used it to drive prices through the roof. Sound familiar? Now, China isn't simply sitting on its hands. By restricting silver exports, they're doing something even more calculated. They're testing global dependence. They're creating a supply chain shock, forcing the world to confront their vulnerability. And what's even more chilling, the West, especially the U.S., hasn't fully woken up to the implications of this move. Imagine this. Industries that depend on silver, electronics, solar energy, AI, defense, they're already feeling the pressure. Production is slowing. The electric vehicle market, for example, could stall. The military, their technology depends on silver, and the clock is ticking. If this situation continues, we could see massive price surges that ripple through everything. The real question is, will the U.S. act fast enough to prevent this from becoming the new normal? Or is the silver crisis just the beginning of something much larger? Now, it's time for the most disturbing part of this story, the contradiction between what's being said and what's happening behind the scenes. On one hand, China has been quiet about the long-term impacts of these export controls. On the other, the markets are already reacting with panic. Silver prices are soaring, and it's not just speculation. It's a direct consequence of China's strategic move. Here's the real kicker. While analysts predict that silver will continue to climb, there's a far more serious question at hand. What happens if this doesn't just stop with silver? If this is the beginning of China systematically controlling critical global resources, the ramifications go far beyond the metal itself. We're talking about a potential shift in the global power dynamic that could reshape industries, economies, and nations. Remember, this isn't just about the price of silver. It's about the unraveling of a system where the U.S. has long held the upper hand. China is making moves that could have massive consequences, not just for investors, but for every industry that relies on silver and the clock is ticking. Now, the pressure is building. Just look at the rapid developments we've seen in just the last few weeks. First, China tightens control over silver exports. Then, inventories in major markets like Shanghai plummet. Next, premiums on physical silver surge. We're talking double the global price. Meanwhile, major industries are already feeling the squeeze. Electric vehicles, production is slowing. Solar energy manufacturers, delays are mounting. And let's not forget about AI companies that depend on silver for their data centers. The ripple effect is spreading fast. What happens if this continues? The situation becomes untenable. The U.S. may have no choice but to scramble for silver from other sources, but those countries are already at max production. China, with its vast reserves and control over refining, could outbid the U.S. at every turn. And the real kicker? It could take years to build the domestic infrastructure to match China's grip on the market. The window for action is closing. If this crisis escalates, industries across the globe will be forced to rethink their entire supply chain. The U.S. might be looking at a future where it's playing catch-up, all because of a metal it once took for granted. But let's pause for a second and talk about the real-world impact. This isn't just an issue for investors or silver traders. This is something that will hit you directly in your pocket. Think about all the technology you rely on every day. Your smartphone, it's using silver. Electric vehicles, they're built with it. Solar panels, they're dependent on silver too. And as these industries struggle to get the silver they need, prices are only going to rise. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You might soon find yourself paying more for your phone, your car, even your electricity bill. Every piece of tech, every green energy solution, every defense system could face delays, price hikes, or worse. If this sounds like something that could affect your daily life, you're not alone. The ripple effect is already here, and it's only going to grow. If you're in an industry that depends on silver, electronics, automotive, energy, defense, now is the time to think about what comes next. If this resonates with you, drop a comment below. Let me know how you're preparing for what's coming. Now let's go beyond the immediate shock of rising prices. What's happening here is more than just a supply chain crisis. It's a systemic issue. The silver market, like so many other global resources, is built on fragile networks of dependency. And this isn't a one-off incident. China has realized it holds a key position in the global supply chain, and it's leveraging that power to reshape the rules. Think about it. Silver's unique properties make it indispensable. It conducts electricity better than anything else. Its thermal conductivity is unmatched. You can't just swap it out for something else, not in high-tech applications, not in military systems, and not in renewable energy. The industries that rely on silver know this. They understand the stakes, and now China does too. This isn't just about a commodity anymore. China isn't playing by the old rules. They've learned from history, both recent and ancient, and they're using their position to challenge the status quo. The U.S. has depended on China for refining and distribution, and now that dependence is coming back to bite. The system that once seemed stable, it's crumbling. And if this trend continues, we could see the rise of a new global order where China, not the U.S., holds the cards. The question is, can the U.S. adapt in time, or is this the beginning of a new world where the West is playing catch-up? So what happens next? The clock is ticking, and the path ahead is uncertain, but there are two possible scenarios that could play out. Scenario one, the U.S. caves into China's demands. Prices for silver keep soaring, and industries pass those costs directly to consumers. Your phone, electric vehicle, and even your power bill could skyrocket as companies scramble to secure silver. The ripple effects would stretch far beyond just the tech world. The entire global economy could face a steep rise in costs, and innovation in key industries could slow to a crawl. But there's another possibility, scenario two. The U.S. fights back. They try to source silver elsewhere, Mexico, Canada, Peru, Australia. But here's the problem. Those countries are already maxed out. China has the leverage, and they can outbid the West at every turn. The U.S. could try to ramp up domestic refining, but that's a long-term solution. It would take years to build up the capacity to replace what China controls. In either case, the U.S. is in a tough spot. The question isn't whether this will be disruptive, it's how long it will take for the world to feel the full effects. And as we move toward 2026, the window for easy solutions is closing fast. The next move is already in motion. And the bigger question is, who will control the global resources that power the future? So here's the bottom line. China is testing the waters with silver, but they're not stopping there. Silver could just be the opening move in a larger strategy to control the critical minerals that power the 21st century economy: rare earths, tungsten, cobalt, and beyond. What we're seeing now could be the first domino to fall in a global reordering of power, and the U.S.? Well, it's in a race against time to catch up. Whether they can adapt to this new reality is anyone's guess, but the consequences of inaction are clear. As the global supply chain shifts, the world could find itself at the mercy of a single dominant player. And it's not the U.S. anymore. But here's what you need to understand. This isn't just about silver. It's about power, leverage, and the control of the very resources that define our future. And if China succeeds in locking down these critical commodities, the world will look very different in the coming years. I'll be breaking down which industries are next in line for disruption and which companies are quietly positioning themselves to thrive in this new world. Make sure you're subscribed because this story is far from over and the next chapter could change everything. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more.